you're a strong male, then you are the devil of society.
I once was lost, oh, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Welcome, everybody, to Built on Faith Homestead. Me and the wife are karate chopping one another. Not really. Good to see everybody. Been a while since we did a tiny house talk. I don't know if it's coming through on either one of the cameras we're recording this on, but it is flat pouring rain right now.
Yeah.
And praise the Lord.
That's why the lighting's a little darker.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a little darker, isn't it?
And that one,
yeah. So, we have got two cameras going because we want to try to do something, try to edit on the computer. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I know my phone will work. So we got two cameras going. I don't know what Bobo's problem is here. Say hi. Say hi. So today on our tiny house talk, we would like to talk about men and women. Dun, dun, dun. And what we'd like to talk about is, yeah, tell them. Well, what we would like to talk about is how we're different and how that difference is okay. And not only okay, but needed.
Yeah.
And not only needed, but meant to be a blessing for us. So, I wanted Melissa to be in this video for sure, because I didn't want you to think, well, he's just being a man and all by himself and, you know, whatever. Wouldn't say it in front of his wife. I didn't want none of that. And so, today, we're going to talk about how we are created different. We're meant for different things. Built differently. God put different things in us. I do want to say this. To some of you, this video is going to be highly, highly offensive. And I understand this is a touchy subject. And I'm going to do, and Melissa will do, the best that we can to not shy away from the truth, but to also not stab you with the truth either, right? Not like just, take it, you know, not that kind of stuff either. But just be honest with one another, right? Don't be getting into the deal. You stay out of the deal. So, today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about difference between men and women. And so, if that is something that you are excited to hear, maybe you're mad about, maybe you want to watch this video to scold us, that's fine. But we do appreciate you watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel as well. So, different. This is my general philosophy, and this is what I believe the Bible teaches as well. But this is just kind of my very general, broad stroke philosophy is this. That God created men and women differently, with different attributes, different things that we're good at, generally speaking, different ways that we think, different ways that we look at things, and those things are meant to be different. And not only are they meant to be different, but those things are meant to be used as a blessing to us. One of the ways I like to look at it is like a light switch. If it's wired up the right way, the electricity will flow through it and you'll light a light. If you do it wrong, it'll burn the house down, right? That's the kind of stuff. Bobo's just like, pass me around. So that's what I believe. And I'll give you an example that's going to offend some of you, and I'm sorry, but I don't really know of another example. And the example would be this, right? So Melissa is way better at cleaning the house than I am. Now, this doesn't mean I don't clean the house. This doesn't mean I don't help. This doesn't mean that I don't sweep the floor or help with laundry. Occasionally, if she's really sweet to me, I'll help with the dishes. Right? It doesn't mean I don't help. But what it does mean is recognizing that, hey, she's better at that than I am. And Melissa recognizes that I'm better at splitting wood than she is. She's mad and she's offended and she's leaving the video. No, I'm just kidding. She recognizes that I'm better at cutting firewood, let's say, right? Doesn't mean she doesn't help. Doesn't mean she don't stack firewood. She rather enjoys stacking firewood. Her and Luella will come and help stack firewood, bring it in the house. It's not that she has nothing to do with the firewood, right? But on a typical fall or winter day, if I'm cutting firewood, and I'm doing what my strength is, and Melissa's strength is taking care of the house. If we're both gone all day cutting firewood, then the house isn't took care of. If we're both at home taking care of the house, then the firewood's not took care of. But if each person is doing their strength, or if we're working together, even in cutting firewood, if I'm running the chainsaw or splitting firewood and you and Luella are stacking it, it's going to go so much easier and so much faster. And we're all going to be a lot happier at the end of the day helping one another, right? And so recognizing those differences and understanding that those differences are not only okay, but they're meant to be a blessing to us, right? And so obviously our culture today is that, you know, men and women are the exact same and gender's fluid and you can be whatever gender you want to be and all those kinds of things, which is, of course, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Absolutely nuts. Follow the science until it comes to men and women, and then it's like, well, not really. Hey, you guys want to see something funny that men will do? If he'll do it, Bobo. Bo, look at that. Noggin. You can play with my hat. You can play with the hat. So, ignore the wild, crazy hair going on there. We do. We believe in our household. And it's not just me. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to make sure Melissa was in this video, right? So I didn't just come up with this and like, this is how we're going to do it, right? So what's your thoughts, Melissa? Do you agree with my philosophy? Do you think it's completely off base?
No.
No, you don't agree?
I know. I'm horrible at those questions. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Men have, that's biblical, that men are to provide and lead for our home.
Yeah.
And that may mean a more physical, their bodies are made physically different. I've learned, being married to Justin, his body's physically different. That sounds really graphic. That's not what I mean. But like
not talking about the Audi and the innie difference,
like,
right?
Physically, muscular, strength-wise.
Sure.
It's different than mine, and that's okay. There's a lot. There's probably some women that's gonna be
okay, you do your thing.
Kind of mad, but you know, it talks a lot in the Bible about being submissive. So,
oh snap, you said it.
Like,
woo!
Well, so I've had to grow in that, and you know, and I've kind of seen, the more I serve God as married person, and I try to grow in Him, to be submissive to my husband and to God, because women are, you're supposed to. When you try to be, I feel like, submissive in your heart to God, it makes it easier to be submissive to your husband. And sometimes that's a hard thing as a woman. You want control, you want that control, and it's hard. But you will grow in your marriage and in your walk with God if you learn to be submissive to them, and to trust in them. Men are supposed to be submissive to God.
That is true. Lesser talked about subject.
Men are supposed to be submissive to God.
That's very true.
Which will in turn help in a marriage as well.
Right.
And in your men role and women role.
Yes. So I want to be really, really clear from a male standpoint, right? So when Melissa's talking about being submissive to your husbands and those kinds of things, right? Men, I want to speak to you for just a minute if you're still watching this. We're instructed to lead, not boss. Right? So don't take the position God has given you as a power trip, right? And begin to think like, well, we're just gonna do what I say and da 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 da. No, lead your family.
And there's times too when, I don't always agree with what you're wanting.
What?
Or saying, yeah.
What?
But, and it's not a bad thing, I don't think, to say, hey, I don't agree with that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
To be able to have honest conversations.
Yeah. But also there's been times when I've had to trust you even if I didn't really see eye to eye. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Oh, I don't know.
So,
I'm not one with many words. I'm sorry.
So, truthfully, right? We are created different, and we're meant to be different. And today, in today's gender fluid world, right, of everything being the same, men and women are exactly the same. Men and women are there's no difference between men. In fact, you can even choose, right, what you want to be and all that kind of nonsense. I believe we have done both men and women a great disservice. And so Melissa and we're going to go into this conversation. Now, this is not pre-rehearsed. I just now thought of this. So have some grace with us, have some mercy with us. But I'm going to say some ways I think it's hurt women, and I want you to say some ways you think it's hurt men, to try to say we are all the same and we're all equal and there's no difference between the two, and right? Not that we're not equal, but that we're exactly the same. That there's no difference between the two, right?
Okay.
So one of the things I would say is we have put so much pressure on women to be exactly like a man, right? And if they're not like a man, then they are less than, right? When they were never created to be exactly like a man. They were created to be a woman in the way God created them, right? And to get any part of your worth from society is going to have a negative impact on you, right? But to think that you have to be a certain, you have to live the lifestyle where you don't need no man in your life and da-da-da-da-da, and if you're any other, then you're a weaker woman, right? No, I don't think that's right at all. And I think we've really hurt women. And I'm going to say it this way, and once again, I don't mean to offend, but it probably is going to offend some. I think women have had to fight battles. I think it's a disgrace that we have women on the combat lines. And the reason why I think that's a disgrace is because we don't have men to do it. Not because I'm ashamed that a woman would be on, right? But it's more like that's not what they were meant to do. And we're forcing them in that. You wives that are spiritual leaders of your households, there's a bunch of you, and I know that. And somebody has to do it, right? I'm not saying you're out of your godly role by being a spiritual leader of your household because your husband's not doing it. But I think in that, our husbands have hurt their wives by making them fight spiritual and emotional battles they were never meant to fight, right? And so I think we've put a lot of pressure on women.
It says we are a weaker vessel.
Sure, it does.
Not spiritually. I mean, just emotionally.
Yeah.
We are emotionally driven and stuff, and we need husband's help, or manly help, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know how to explain that, really, I guess.
Yeah. And especially if a man's going to have a family, we need women's help, not just for the act of having a family, but I can't nurture the kids the way you do.
Right.
I just don't have it in me. It's not that I don't love them. It's not that I won't hug on them when they're hurting or anything like that. But you obviously have a different way of nurturing them. Even if it's the same words and the same actions, it feels different coming from mama to the kids.
Yeah.
Right? It feels different. So how do you think men have been hurt by... so I think men have been feminized, if you will, in this country, right? I think
it's almost like some men... Whoa, I thought he was going to spill it.
I did. I thought Bo was going to have his first drink of coffee.
I thought... Sometimes it's I feel like men have... kind of went backwards. Not all men. I'm not saying all men.
These are very broad strokes. Very broad strokes, by the way. Bo's telling you what he thinks. Well, you think, Bobo?
Some almost, it seems it's kind of, they become, what's that word, lackadaisical? Or,
They do, yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to offend people.
That's fair.
But it's
maybe it's not your place to.
I don't know. I feel like I sound really silly.
You don't sound silly. It's a hard conversation because there's people steaming right now watching it. If even if this gets our typical 50, 30 views, right? If it gets our typical 30 views, there's going to be probably 13 of them just steaming.
I'm just going to say that serving God, taking care of a family is hard. Man, I couldn't imagine that. In a male's perspective, in Justin's perspective, and but it's a role that God has. He's not trying to overwhelm you, I don't think. He's trying to make men better people by giving him those roles, better godly examples, and a soldier for him. And I feel like I hate it that it seems like some of the men have went the other way because they're hurting themselves, and which will in turn, if you're not standing up for your family as far as serving God or whatever, providing the best that you can. And I know some of the men are probably like, "How? What do you know? You're a woman."
Right.
No, I don't provide in that way for my family.
I got it. I will return.
I don't provide in that way for my family. I provide in other ways for my family. But it will only better you if you do the roles that God has given you. I mean, he didn't just say them for no reason. And that goes for women too. It doesn't mean just let men do everything either. I still think, you work very hard. You you do what you need to, you be that godly example to your children. And sometimes that means even to your husband too. We all get weak. We all fail. But he didn't put those roles in there for no reason. I'm trying to think of other ways, I guess.
So, I believe men have lost their grit.
That's kind of what I mean by
Is that what you're saying?
all of what I said. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to not.
Yeah. And when I say lost their grit, I don't mean like we gotta be mean and all that stuff, right? But there is something that God has placed in men that is, I don't know how other way to say it, but grit, right? A type of grit.
Yeah.
So I believe that men have lost their grit. I like to watch old sports highlights from like the 90s, right? And your old like Michael Jordan highlights or whoever, your old NFL highlights. Those people played with a different type. Those men played with a different type of grit and attitude. And I'm going to say this scientifically has been proven a lot of different times that testosterone levels are dropping in men, and I believe due to processed foods and vaccines and those kinds of things. Right? I believe there's an attack on men in that way, but men just are losing that grit, and it's not just in the secular world. Then you see it in church, where men aren't willing to fight spiritually for their families. They're not willing to set their foot down and serve the Lord and not budge off of it, right? Me and my mom was actually talking a long time ago about you need to grow your own beard so you can pull it, man, instead of mine. About like the old men of God from like 50 or 60 years ago, right? Like that breed is dying off, and there's not many left, right, of the younger men that are willing to fight. I would say similar to like Nehemiah's day, where they were building the wall, and it's like, hey, build with one hand, keep your sword in the other, right? Because there's a cause for this. And as I thought about Bobo, even watching us do this video, we're setting examples for our children, and they see those things, right? And so, they see the different roles and they see the way that we're acting and reacting to different things. And I think it's our job to teach them, right? And what I think men have lost is even teaching that to their, like if they have a son, right? Teaching it to their sons or showing their daughters what kind of man they need to look for in a husband, right? Because they've been told that they're not any different than a woman. They're exactly the same. And so you have to act like a woman. You have to, all that kind of, if you're a strong male, then you are the devil of society.
Woman's role and stuff too, it's put, like you said, so much pressure on them to the point where, you know, feel like we have to control this, we have to lead that, we have to make those decisions, we have to be perfect. And there comes a lot of freedom when I think women need to realize, you know, we're not perfect. No, we're not like men. Not saying you can't work hard. You can work really hard. It may be mine's in a different way than Justin's.
Yeah.
Like I said, some of you are probably like, what do you know? You stay at home. I do stay at home, but I work really hard. I have 3 children that are all 5 and under, which is really hard, a lot harder than people think it is. I homeschool, so I have to stay organized. I'm only homeschooling my oldest right now, but I do all that with 2 babies. I do a lot of canning, so I provide in that way for my family.
Yeah.
Providing food. I take care of our children, so we don't have to financially pay for a babysitter. That is saving money, therefore you are helping financially. And it took me, I still have trouble realizing that, but Justin helped me to try to realize that. It sounds bad, but I think women need to lower their way of thinking a little bit.
He got himself scared.
Lower their way of thinking a little bit. You don't have to be on top of everything all the time. I know it feels that way. It's really stressful. And it's hard. It takes a lot of work and mentality wise trying to weed through that.
It does. Right. Wasn't ignoring you, so I was trying to keep Bobo from whining over here. It has, right? And we have, I think, done society a great disservice to both men and women. But I do believe we were created differently, for sure. And the wonderful part about that difference is that, once again, it was meant to be a blessing to us. It was meant to help us.
To help you.
Right.
Because obviously God thinks that you can do that.
Yeah.
God knows that you can. You're made in His image.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
That's right. And we're once again, right, made to bless one another, to help. So what does the Bible say, right? To help. Like, we are to help one another, right? And how we help one another is that we are different. And you're better at things, and I'm better at things. And that's good, and that's okay. I think it's actually way more mean to men and women to say, man, you have to be like a woman. And woman, you have to be like a man, right? And trying to make them be something that God's not created them to be. And secular society thinks they believe in that as well, with all of the transgenderism, right? They'll say, you know, they really believe that they're, say the man wanted to be a woman, right? They really believed they were supposed to be a woman, so then they begin to act like a woman and dress like a woman and talk like a woman and all that kind of stuff, right? And the secular society says, hey, don't tell them they have to be something other than they were created to, other than what they believe they were, right? Well, the truth of the matter is, what we really need to do is understand that God has created us different. Don't force us into a box that we weren't supposed to ever be in the first place. And let God thrive through us by living out the things God has for us, right? So I say all that to say this: fight for your family. Women, fight for your women. Become more womanly. Men, become more manly.
Yeah.
Right? Allow yourselves to be different. It's okay. Not only is it okay, it's meant to be a blessing.
He wouldn't have made man and then a woman. Like, they're two different things.
Right.
I don't know.
Seems pretty simple, huh?
Yeah.
No. But we complicate it, don't we? We do. Guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys. Kids were crazy a little bit.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. All right. If you've ever had about a 1-year-old, though, Bo is getting to the point he likes to jump around to everybody, right?
These are really hard to do.
These tiny house talks are almost impossible.
In a tiny home, it's really hard.
Yeah. By far and away the most frustrating
We really
video.
like doing them.
Well, I love them. But can be the most frustrating videos to try to do. Right? But anyhow, we appreciate you guys, and we will catch you next time.